Now that Simon is done creating his base form with ZSpheres, he'll turn this into a mesh you can start sculpting on. He'll do this by going into the tool palette, opening up the Adaptive Skin pull down, and clicking on Make Adaptive Skin. Now you will have a new Adaptive Skin tool inside your tool pop-up which you can redraw into your canvas, which Simon has done here. He's also divided the model a few times to give it a bit more resolution. You may have noticed that Simon had many other materials loaded into his material pop-up than you normally see in ZBrush by default. You can actually download hundreds of other materials from the MatCap library located on the Pixelogic website. Just click the information button located on this movie's icon to get a link to the MatCap library. The first brush Simon is going to use in this sculpting process is the clay brush. This is a great brush to just rough in some general volume and form, which is what you'll see he does here. He also holds shift to smooth in those rough strokes. So he'll repeat this several times as he models this sculpt by adding in some quick volume with the clay brush and then just smoothing things away by holding shift. Again, we can see Simon just roughing in that general form with the clay brush and then just quickly smoothing that back. For a moment, he'll switch over to the move brush just to adjust the expression on the character a bit more. The next brush Simon's going to be using is called the Damien Standard Brush. You can learn more about this brush, its author, and where to download it by simply clicking on the information button located on this movie's icon. The Damien Standard Brush is a combination both between the standard and the pinch brush. And this is what's giving Simon these nice crisp lines as he sculpts over his model. Often during this phase of sculpting, you'll see Simon switch back and forth between the clay and the Damien Standard brush. When he switches to clay, it's to add large clumps of volume onto the model, and then Damien Standard to sharpen up some of those lines. And here again a bit of the move brush to continue refining the expression on the character. At this stage, Simon's going to add in all the little suckers that run along the length of the tentacle. He'll do this by using the tracks brush and switching to alpha 26. Don't forget to isolate a piece of your geometry. You can hold down Control and Shift and simply click drag over the area that you want to work on. You can then hold Control and Shift and click drag in an empty area of your canvas to bring the rest of your model back. Simon's going to do this several times just to make it a little easier to work on specific areas. You can see how easy it is to use any alpha you like and then the tracks brush to roll that alpha across the surface. This is why the tracks brush is so great for making stitching in clothes, or in this case, suckers on tentacles. Here's another great example of Simon using the Damien Standard brush to kind of just sharpen up some of those details. And again, switching back to the clay brush just to sculpt in some larger form. Again, some Damien Standard to add in the sharp creases along the lips. For adding this pattern on the character, Simon's going to choose alpha number 25. He'll be using the displace brush, and he'll be using the drop rectangle stroke. Because the tentacles at this point are just kind of round tubes, Simon's going to again use the Damien Standard to kind of define the crease between the top part of the tentacle and the bottom part where you see all of the suckers. For the claw, he'll just use the standard brush and a little bit of Z-sub to kind of push in that cavity. Also, you'll notice that throughout his process, Simon saves his work. It's always a good idea to save out different versions as you're working, just in case you ever want to go back to a previous version. Using the Damien Standard brush, Simon will now start putting tight creases around the wrists of his character. What he's actually doing here is defining the sleeves of the jacket. First he'll push in with the Damien Standard brush, and then go over that one more time to kind of pull up the edge of the sleeve. One of my favorite aspects about the finished work of this project is the expression on the character's face. You can see that Simon is constantly experimenting with the move brush to get that perfect look. At this stage, Simon's going to use alpha 23 and the spray stroke to start adding some finer detail to the surface of the skin. Continuing to add random patterns to the skin, Simon briefly switches back to alpha 25 and then to another kind of porous alpha which he imported directly into ZBrush. Again, by holding Control and Shift and then dragging over a portion of your model, you can isolate a specific area to work on. And right here above the eyebrows, you can see how the Damien Standard brush is a great brush to use to kind of crease in some of those expression lines.